You're listening to a Get Abstract summary of The 12-Week Year Field Guide, a book by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. Strategic planning experts Brian Moran and Michael Lennington say that when you conceptualize a year in only 12 weeks, you accomplish what most people do in a year. Good ideas aren't what determine success. High performers are simply better at executing their ideas. Learn to move toward your goals more effectively using the author's unique system while staying motivated and accountable. Employ their research-backed tactics to transform yourself into the CEO of your own life, who creates lasting change. Annualized thinking is ineffective. Think in 12-week increments instead. People tend to think in year-long increments, but annualized thinking proves unproductive. People tend to feel they have lots of time to accomplish their goals and, as a result, don't accomplish them efficiently. When you conceptualize a year in 12 weeks and plan in shorter increments of time, your focus increases as you execute daily and weekly actions toward your goal. 3 principles make up the 12-week year. First, accountability. Never stop asking yourself what you can do to achieve your desired results. Second, commitment. Keep the promises you make to yourself. And third, greatness. Excel in the present moment with self-discipline. High performers don't have better ideas. They have better execution systems. The 12-week year's unique system can help you find success using 5 disciplines. First, vision. Motivate yourself by aligning your personal and professional goals with a meaningful vision. Second, planning. Increase your odds of success by creating a 12-week plan. Third, process control. Use research-backed tools and strategies to ensure you effectively execute your plan daily. Fourth, scorekeeping. Measure your progress and create feedback systems. And finally, time use. Spend your time intentionally and effectively. Stop resisting change. Embrace discomfort and craft a strong vision. Many people fail to make lasting changes because doing so requires sacrificing their comfort. Your best defense against resistance to change is a powerful vision, which reminds you of what you're capable of becoming if you stick to your goals. Give yourself permission to dream big, and make sure you have an emotional connection to your vision. Try these exercises to find and implement your vision. First, imagine yourself 5, 10, and 15 years into the future. Visualizing future success triggers neurons in your prefrontal cortex to fire, the same ones that activate when you carry out actions that align with your vision. You're training your brain to achieve your dreams by imagining them first. Second, make 3 lists. List the things you'd like to have, the things you'd like to do, and everything you'd like to be in your life. Focus on material and non-material things. Third, sift through your lists. Identify what's most important to you. Then, create a long-term vision, 5, 10, and 15 years into the future, for your life. Fourth, create a 3-year vision. Divide it into 2 parts, personal and professional goals. You can create an optional 12-month vision if that will help guide you. And fifth, take actions to ensure accountability. Share your vision with other people. Print it out and keep it close to you. Take daily steps toward manifesting your vision and reflect on your progress at the end of each day. Progress toward your 12-week goals by creating a weekly action plan. Create 3-month goals you find personally meaningful and ensure they align with your long-term vision. Think of your goals as outcomes or results you can't control, but which you can work toward via strategic actions. Draft effective outcomes by ensuring your goals meet the following criteria. First, your goals are specific, and you can measure your success. Second, your goals focus on positive results as opposed to avoiding negative results. Third, your goals are challenging, but realistic. Fourth, you're willing to be accountable to yourself in achieving these goals, even if it means sacrificing your comfort. Fifth, you can achieve these goals within specific deadlines. Create a list of weekly tactics or daily tasks that you can finish each week to achieve your goals. Create a mind map, a non-linear way of generating ideas. Write down your goal in the center of a page and jot down any actions you could take to achieve this goal around it. Circle each of your ideas and attach connected ideas to them with branch-like lines. Narrow down your visual list to a few effective actions. Codify clear tactics by writing sentences that begin with action verbs and include concrete timeframes. Make sure you can feasibly execute these actions within a week and that they don't require additional preliminary steps. Don't think of your weekly plan as a list of things to do. It reflects the strategic activity necessary to achieve your goals. Move toward your goals by emotionally committing yourself to high-impact actions. When you make a commitment, you create powerful emotional connections to an action plan with a specific outcome in mind. Honoring your commitments is important because when you keep commitments to others, you strengthen relationships. Keeping commitments to yourself bolsters your self-respect and integrity. Make a list of high-impact actions you believe will help you reach your goals. Write down the sacrifices or costs you'll have to make to your goals. If you're willing to make these sacrifices, commit yourself to executing the necessary tactics for the next 3 months. Try to keep your promises to yourself, but don't get discouraged if you miss a commitment once. It happens. But if you continue to miss commitments, examine why you're failing to stay accountable. Then, recommit yourself to making the necessary sacrifices. Overcome obstacles by using the latest change research to your advantage. Use research-based tools and actions to ensure you stay on track in reaching your desired outcomes. Avoid getting distracted from executing your weekly plan by employing the following process control strategies. First, weekly plan. Create a plan at the start of each week, using the charts in the 12-week year field guide. Give yourself a score at the end of each week, which you'll base on the percentage of weekly tactics you completed. Incorporate the tactics from your weekly plan into your daily routine and consult your plan 3 or 4 times throughout the day to keep track of progress. Second, weekly accountability meetings. People who attend weekly peer-to-peer accountability meetings are roughly 7 times more likely to honor long-term commitments. Schedule 15 to 30-minute weekly meetings with 2 or 3 peers to offer one another support. Group members share progress towards their goals, their current obstacles, and their commitments for the week, while everyone provides feedback and encouragement. Third, daily huddles. Set aside 5 minutes every morning for a standing meeting with a maximum of 3 people. Share your accomplishments from the day before and the actions you hope to take that day. Fourth, 12-week theme. Choose a catchy phrase or word that reminds you of your priorities and vision. For example, own it or gratitude. Brainstorm themes until you find one you connect with emotionally. Reminding yourself of your theme motivates you to keep your commitments. And finally, 12-week year celebrations. Treat every 12-week cycle like a year and schedule a flexible week for your 13th week. If you reach your goals, reward yourself in a way you find personally motivating during that flex week. An effective measurement and scorekeeping system drives change. Measure lead and lag indicators to track your progress toward your goals. Lead indicators are markers of early progress, while lag indicators usually reflect your final outcomes. Remember that you're trying to accomplish in 12 weeks what most people do in a year, so each week represents a month. Follow these 3 steps to measure progress. First, create a list of key measures consisting of lead and lag indicators. For example, people who want to lose weight could use the number of hours they exercise as lead indicators, while a lag indicator could be the number of pounds they lose. Second, tracking the status of actions you complete each week. For example, if you have 10 tactics due and you complete 8, then you're 80% effective at executing your plan. Third, pay attention to your metrics. If you're not scoring well, figure out what to do to gain momentum. Make progress each week and improve your execution effectiveness score. Manage your time with a unique time blocking method that produces consistent results. Performance time is a time blocking approach unique to the 12-week year system. It gives you the tools to become the CEO of your own life and be more intentional with your time. To leverage your time effectively, adopt the following beliefs. Understand that your time is as valuable as other people's time, at the very least. Know that you can't do everything by simply working hard and fast enough. You must train yourself to prioritize. Learn to prioritize strategic, high-impact, and money-generating actions before actions with less impact, even if they seem urgent. Realize that reaching a breakthrough point requires a profound shift in how you work and an overhaul of your former systems. Create a model work week by scheduling 3 different types of time blocks for different activities. First, strategic blocks. Schedule 3-hour blocks of time at least once a week to tackle your highest priority activities without interruption. Second, buffer blocks. Allocate 30 to 60-minute blocks of time once or twice a day to actions that are less strategic but still urgent, such as answering emails. Third, breakout blocks. Block out 3 hours to recharge with an activity you enjoy that has nothing to do with work, such as seeing a movie or playing golf. Don't indulge in these activities at first. Try scheduling only 1 block per month until you're sure you're executing your weekly plan effectively. Stay on track by confronting uncomfortable truths and identifying performance breakdowns. Boost your likelihood of successfully achieving your goals by analyzing your performance weekly and confronting any performance breakdowns or obstacles you may face. Consider allocating 15 to 20 minutes per week to give yourself a weekly execution score, using the lead and lag indicators of progress you chose for yourself. For example, you may use the number of client meetings each week as a lead indicator of success and the total amount of revenue you earn as a lag indicator. Calculate the total percentage of your goals you accomplish each week using your chosen measures. If you don't have time to do this, check your progress once a month. Identify trends over time in achieving your lead and lag measures, as well as potential issues and risks threatening your goals. If you avoid meeting your commitments or engaging in any aspects of the plan, identify these areas. Make an action commitment to offset any negative trends you identify in your performance. The end of your 12 weeks marks an opportunity to start anew. When you complete your 12 weeks, perform a structured review of your execution performance and find ways to build on your successes. Review your weekly scores, noting what percentage of each goal you accomplished, and rate your performance regarding each goal for the total year. Calculate your total score to determine your effectiveness in executing your 12-week year plan. If you were less than 80% effective, reflect on what areas of your life might be out of balance. Consider your work, personal and family lives, and your satisfaction with your relationships, your physical environment, and whether you're living in alignment with your spiritual beliefs. Complete work and life balance is a myth. Plan for intentional periods of imbalance when you need to prioritize certain aspects of your life. Which aspects would you like to focus on in the future? When your 12-week year ends, start a new 12-week plan to build on your successes and achieve even more. Rank your engagement with the 5 disciplines that make up your 12-week plan strategy: vision, planning, process control, scorekeeping, and time use. Consider which areas of the strategy you struggle with most and should employ more effectively next time. Identify your most significant accomplishments. What changes can you make to achieve twice as much next time?
You're listening to a summary of Gods of Management, a book by Charles Handy. Philosopher Charles Handy compares today's dominant management styles to the qualities of 4 mythological Greek gods. Drawing archetypal inspiration from Zeus, Apollo, Athena, and Dionysus, Handy breaks down the subtle differences that inform competing approaches to management. He argues that today's managers face making the transition from a hierarchical corporate Apollonian culture to a more diverse democratic one. In this evergreen business classic, Handy posits that increased complexity and individualism will fuel a reign of new managerial gods. Okay, first, let's hear takeaway 1. The mythological Greek gods embody contemporary management archetypes. The ancient Greeks saw their gods as more than theological deities. Each god represented specific interests and values. People decided which gods they would serve according to their sense of alignment with each deity's symbolic emphasis. Today, leaders can choose among 4 different management styles in corresponding corporate cultures represented by the mythological gods: Zeus, Apollo, Athena, and Dionysus. Each god symbolically embodies different leadership views of influence, power, human motivation, change, and the future of work. Now let's move on to takeaway number 2. Leaders must understand 4 Greek god-inspired cultures. Use the power of these Greek god-inspired cultures to help you navigate different contexts. First, the club culture. The organizational culture that Zeus represents relies on divisions of labor with those closest to the organization's center, wielding the most influence and power, and all workers reporting to a central authority. Zeus-like cultures are pervasive in entrepreneurial organizations, investment banks, brokerage firms, and certain startups. This culture values speed over quality. In such organizations, empathy hinges on trust and affinity. Second, the role culture. Apollo's organizational culture embraces rules, flowcharts, and order. Roles have more clout than personalities in this bureaucratic culture, which values predictability and stability. Life insurance companies, state industries, and local governments embody Apollonian culture. Third, the task culture. Athena's culture calls on teams to identify problems, find solutions, and allocate resources in a continuous process. Athena, the warrior goddess, leads a loosely connected network of commando units, mostly autonomous teams working together toward a shared mission. Companies that thrive on variety or that are expanding, such as advertising agencies, consultancy groups, and those launching new products, adhere to this culture. And fourth, the existential culture. Dionysus, the hedonistic god of wine, rules existential cultures that attract those who want to rule their own destiny. Here, unlike in the other 3 cultures, the individual doesn't serve the organization. The culture exists to support individuals. For example, when doctors, artists, attorneys, or architects work together, they cooperate to achieve individual goals. Managers have less status in such organizations, where people view them as capable of tackling unpleasant, necessary tasks as a housekeeper might. Great. So now we can move on to the third takeaway. Each mythological god has a different approach to changing and managing teams and to setting incentives. Each of the 4 cultures uses the power of thinking in different ways and has a distinct strategy about learning. For example, a Zeus-like leader is an intuitive thinker who learns quickly through testing ideas and making mistakes. Zeus's club cultures value learning through apprenticeship. Learning isn't an open activity, but is carried out secretively to avoid the appearance of weakness. Apollonian leaders are analytical, logical, sequential thinkers. They view learning as an acquisitive training process that prepares individuals for new roles. Athenians value continuous learning and team approaches to problem solving. They see areas that need improvement as problems to solve together. Athenian organizations value individual self-development, with team members often bidding for new roles. Dionysians tend to be flexible thinkers who prefer learning through experience. They resent anyone who tries to plan their future for them and oppose hierarchical thinking. Each mythological god represents different management approaches to influencing, changing, motivating, and rewarding teams. Zeus-like cultures enact change by replacing people rather than transforming them. Those who know powerful people wield the most influence. Power motivates Zeus, who rewards people by expanding their responsibility in networks. In duty-based Apollonian cultures, change means updating roles, structures, or systems. Leaders reward and motivate Apollonian teams by expanding their formal authority and bestowing the status symbols that accompany greater responsibility, such as expense accounts and executive cars. Athenian teams change when leaders persuade their team members to agree to change, with individuals finding motivation in serving a common purpose. To reward and motivate Athenians, give them opportunities for self-development, variety in assignments, and results-based paychecks. Dionysians resent those who try to influence them, so approach any change as a negotiation. They regard being creative and improving the world as rewards in themselves. Well, so far so good. Now let's listen to takeaway 4. 4 forces shape organizations and their cultures: size, life cycles, work patterns, and personnel. 4 factors influence your workplace culture. The first factor is size. Larger organizations tend to be more Apollonian because their leaders rely on formal control and coordination methods as teams grow to larger than 10 people and organizations become more impersonal. Second, life cycles. Organizations that cycle through change most quickly tend to be Athenian. These rapid-paced organizations prioritize problem-solving over administrative capacity. The third factor is work patterns. Organizations can work by following several different kinds of patterns. They can use flow patterns, such as assembly lines, that use one section's work as input for others. They can follow repeated copy patterns, as in branch banking or gasoline stations, and produce identical work in each separate section. They can select unit patterns for independently operating sections, such as independent small businesses. Copy and flow patterns work best in Apollonian cultures. Organizations that use unit patterns tend to be Zeus-like. But they can be Athenian or Dionysian when teachers or other professionals work in collaborative environments. And finally, people. The generation into which you were born, your early experiences, and your environment form your cultural expectations and preferences. For example, today's individualistic youth culture doesn't generally align easily with the role culture of Apollo. Occupations that require less education tend to prefer Zeus-like cultures, while those demanding higher education levels are often more Dionysian or Athenian. Differences in personality influence your cultural preferences. An individualist, for example, wouldn't enjoy working in a team-based Athenian culture. All right, let's now hear the 5th takeaway. National differences contribute to variations in corporate cultures. Organizations develop different default cultures, in part due to their social and national contexts. When social psychologist Geert Hofstede researched the cultural differences of various nations, including interviewing personnel in 40 countries, he concluded that national differences manifest themselves most sharply in how people perceive uncertainty, individualism, masculinity, and power. In short, it depends on whether people approve or disapprove of hierarchies. For example, in Austria and Germany, people tend to dislike uncertainty. They value equality over hierarchy, embrace stereotypical masculinity, and are wary of individualism, making their organizations appear more Apollonian. In France, by contrast, people tend to enjoy power, hierarchy, and individualism, while eschewing risk-taking, which makes their workplace cultures more Zeus-like. These are cultural generalizations. Not everyone with the same nationality will share the same views. Leaders can strive for balance by using management approaches each of the four mythological gods inspire. For example, many successful organizations in the United States make their more Apollonian cultures viable by incorporating the leadership qualities of Athena, Zeus, and occasionally Dionysus. Different types of organizations tend toward different cultural styles. For example, in schools and academic institutions, Dionysian and Apollonian culture elements vie for control with Zeus-like management. Each mythological god represents enduring traditions that serve different contexts. Organizations that balance them offer positive lessons. Okay, now for another takeaway. Apollonian cultures inspire resistance because they're too complex, alienate individual workers, and don't align with modern values. As individual imperatives such as increased personal choice disrupt organizational imperatives like corporate growth, the dominant Apollonian cultural model must contend with three facets of resistance. First, complexity. Critics argue that Apollonian structures are too big to properly manage complexity. Apollonian cultures tend to work best when routine work takes place in stable environments. They can fail when uncertainty overwhelms them. Leaders with higher levels of education tend to better cope with complexity and the requisite abstract thinking. The second facet is individual alienation. Apollonian organizations can prioritize roles, many of which are mundane, over the growth of the people who fill them. Some argue that money is no longer a sufficient incentive for working and that this is a good thing. And finally, shifting values. Societal norms and values are changing to favor Athenian and Dionysian cultures that support personal expression and collective action over Apollo's impersonal conformist culture. While many people now expect workplaces to be more democratic, Apollonian leaders tend to ignore democracy. Top-down decision-making may be more efficient, but Apollonian leaders should realize that workers in societies that lack scarcity regard the cost of efficiency as too high. Now we've reached the seventh takeaway. Apollonian domination is ending as Dionysus, Athena, and Zeus prove emergent. To remain relevant, Apollonian organizations must change to prioritize the needs of the individual. Using federalism as a model, combining interdependence and independence, successful future organizations will resemble cities of villages or smaller groups that work together toward a broader vision. Athenian and Dionysian values will become the new norms, so organizations that cling to rigid hierarchies and stifle debate won't survive. Imagine problem-solving Athenians, Dionysian professionals and craftsmen, and Apollonians working alongside one another with a Zeus-like center uniting them in a common purpose. Today's emerging corporate culture operates on the basis of management by consent. Employees expect to be asked to perform their jobs, not told. The term management seems dated. Many professionals dislike the notion of someone managing them, since it implies control or manipulation. Organizations should no longer view people as resources to deploy, but as valuable contributing individuals with inalienable rights. Okay, so now we can hear the eighth and final takeaway. Organizations must adapt to survive as they replace their dominant gods. Organizations are restructuring and adapting to survive, resulting in cultures that no longer favor their old mythological gods. Societal shifts underway include the move toward a more Dionysian society that values credentials or other evidence of continuous learning and retraining, the decline of long-term employment and the emergence of a more contractual economy, changes to norms surrounding ownership in the form of cooperatives or discounted shares for workers, and new paradigms or assumptions about the nature of work in society. For example, women dramatically change workplace norms as they gain power and influence. Leaders must not risk dystopian scenarios in which people endure increasing splits along socioeconomic lines. which divide those who work from those who cannot keep up. If your organization cannot envision change, your competitors or industry disruptors will overtake you. Well, that was a summary of Gods of Management, a book by Charles Handy. Let's recap those 8 takeaways one more time. Takeaway 1. The mythological Greek gods embody contemporary management archetypes. Takeaway 2. Leaders must understand 4 Greek god-inspired cultures. The third takeaway. Each mythological god has a different approach to changing and managing teams and to setting incentives. Takeaway number 4. 4 forces shape organizations and their cultures: size, life cycles, work patterns, and personnel. The fifth takeaway: national differences contribute to variations in corporate cultures. The sixth takeaway: Apollonian cultures inspire resistance because they're too complex, alienate individual workers, and don't align with modern values. Takeaway 7. Apollonian domination is ending as Dionysus, Athena, and Zeus prove emergent. And finally, takeaway 8. Organizations must adapt to survive as they replace their dominant gods.